Future brides, your prayers have been answered. I have 70 sections all about different topics regarding the wedding planning process. What do you think about when you hear the phrase wedding planning? Do you think of high stress and being overwhelmed and not even knowing where to start? If that's you, this is so the course for you, and I've got your back, and that's why I created this course. I want your wedding planning process to be so much fun and enjoyable. I created an online self-paced course regarding wedding planning, how to plan your wedding from beginning to end, and everything else you need to know. We talk about all the vendors, all the details, and I even bring in a panel of women, of past brides, to share advice that they wish they would have learned or heard while they were planning their weddings. So get started planning your dream wedding. Now that you've celebrated properly and have really enjoyed the moment and soaked it all up and have celebrated with friends and family, now is where we start getting into the timelines of what you really need to be aware of. So obviously, if you have a long, drawn out engagement, then these time frames will be different, so please adjust them accordingly. And vice versa, if you have a very fast and short engagement, then these timelines will also be needing adjusted accordingly. So I'm just going to give you a basic rundown of what needs done in certain time frames, so like a month-to-month range, and then another month-to-month range, and then we will definitely go through how to do each item and the process behind each of these tasks and time frames. So for now, this is just going to be a basic overall bird's eye view picture of when things need to be done roughly. That way you can start getting a better idea and a better understanding of when certain things need done, because you might just be completely overwhelmed and slightly confused on when to contact vendors or when to book this. And so no fear, no stress. That's why I'm here, and that's why you're doing this course. So like I said, this is going to be just certain basic time frames. Alter this to your wedding. This is not a one size fits all. This isn't a cookie cutter wedding timeline. This is just for a basic general idea, and like I said, edit it, alter it to fit your wedding timeline that you have decided on. So all right, let's say we are 10 to 12 months out from the wedding, and I will post a graphic in this section about all of this, so you'll have a visual for all you visual learners. But for right now, I'm just going to explain for, say we're 10 to 12 months out from the wedding, okay? This is the time frame where you need to decide on a vision for the wedding. So what type of wedding are you wanting? What is the theme of the wedding? What's the location? Is it a traditional wedding or is it a destination wedding? This is your overall vision for the wedding, the overall picture of it. So definitely that needs decided. Obviously the budget is super important. Who is paying for what? How much is your budget? That needs settled 10 to 12 months out from your wedding. Those are the first things that need done. Obviously, you need to set a date. That is a great idea. So setting the date will determine a lot of your vendors as well, because they may be booked on certain dates. So you have to have a concrete, this is our wedding date, and then you will book your vendors around that wedding date. So that definitely needs decided 10 to 12 months out before your wedding. 10 to 12 months out, you also need to work on your guest list. I know you might be like, already that needs done, but this is very important. Obviously, if you're having a destination wedding, your guests need longer advance notice compared to if you were having a traditional wedding at home, that they may be living close to you, where they don't have to book flights and take time off of work. So hopefully you can see the very drastic different parallels in those decisions. So the guest list is very important, and it's also important to decide if you are wanting a large wedding or a small wedding, because that will determine venues that you look at. So these questions, these decisions, these details are very pivotal to the rest of your wedding planning experience. So figure out the guest list very early on, at least 10 to 12 months before your wedding. Also, in this time frame, you'll need to book the ceremony and the reception venues. They book up fast. Oh my goodness, they may already be booked for the date that you're looking at, especially those summer weddings. Whew, summer weddings are prime time wedding season. So that's why if you have 10 to 12 months before your wedding, get those ceremony and reception venues booked. You'll also need to book your photographer and your videographer during this time frame. The same thing goes here. That prime time summer wedding season, those photographers can be booked already on your date. That's why you don't want to drag your feet. You want to get on this right away. You want to get on their schedule. So definitely know that the photographer and the videographer are going to book up fast as well. So 10 to 12 months out from your wedding, you'll want to hire a wedding coordinator if this fits what you're wanting. Obviously, we talked about this briefly, but if you are overwhelmed already and you don't feel capable of planning your own wedding, this is a great time frame to book a wedding planner. Bring them on board. Obviously, I know that you're capable of planning your wedding. I hope you know that you're capable of doing it as well. But if you already know in your gut that you're like, I don't want to do this, I want to hire someone to plan my wedding, this is the time frame to arrange that with a wedding planner. Next, you will want to choose your wedding officiant. So whether you're asking your pastor or figuring it out with a church, get on that officiant, on that pastor's schedule. That way they are reserved for you, because there may be other brides and grooms wanting to ask that individual to officiate their wedding as well. That's why it's important to do it as fast as possible. You'll also, in this time frame, want to select and ask your wedding party. So ask your groomsmen, ask your bridesmaids, ask your ushers. That way they know and can plan for your wedding. Obviously, at this point, you would already have your wedding date picked out, so they can write it on their calendar, and so they know in advance that they'll have to take off work or travel or whatever the case may be for their scenario. This time frame, I would also suggest scheduling or consider hiring a day of coordinator, so that way you can get on their schedule. So this might be a family member or a friend that you're not super close with, but would ask them and trust them enough to help coordinate your wedding day. That way you don't have a million things that you have on your brain that you're trying to coordinate and remember instead of actually enjoying your wedding day. So you can think about hiring someone for that or asking someone if they'd be willing to volunteer their time. It's just great to get that on their schedule, because obviously you probably have someone very special and in particular in mind for this, because they have to be very trustworthy, they have to be very organized, and I mean, you are putting your wedding day in their hands. So that is why it's important to make sure you get the right person that you have on your heart for this position. 10 to 12 months out from your wedding, you'll also want to set your color scheme. So what are the decorations going to look like? Are there certain colors involved? Bridesmaid dress colors, like all of this you want decided around this time frame, because purchases that you make starting now or soon in the future, you want them all to match. Like, you don't just want a rainbow collage of every color under the sun. So setting a color scheme is a great idea. And also in this time frame, 10 to 12 months before the wedding, you'll want to start creating your wedding website. So why do you do that so far in advance? Well, when you start getting guests wanting to RSVP, all of this information is going to already be done, and I will explain the wedding website further on in this class, but you'll want to start working on it sooner rather than later. So I just wanted to give you a brief warning and upfront warning to start working on that and compiling information. That way it doesn't spring on you later, and it's just better to be over-prepared rather than under-prepared. So we'll discuss that later in the class. This is just a brief overview of what you should be focusing on 10 to 12 months out from the wedding. Moving on to 8 to 10 months before the wedding. So obviously all the disclaimers are still in place. If you have a long drawn out engagement, don't feel rushed to do it in this specific time range. If you've got a very short and speedy, rapid engagement, then you've got to cram a lot more in and get even more done in this time frame. So this is all dependent on how much time you have until your wedding. But generally 8 to 10 months out from your wedding, you will want to select a caterer. So ask around, check out the reviews, and you can also set up some taste testing sessions if you're interested. Some vendors definitely offer this because you will be paying them a lot of money for a meal, so they pretty often will offer tastings if you're interested and have an idea of their menu of what you're wanting to offer to your guests. So tastings are an option, but definitely select a caterer because they not only cater for weddings, but they may cater for graduation parties or for proms or so many different options. So you don't know what events are going on your wedding day, so get on their schedule. Same thing for a florist. Get on their schedule about 8 to 10 months out from your wedding because there may be other weddings that are wanting to use them, and floral businesses may not be able to cater to several weddings in a day depending on their size and depending on how many employees they have. They might be able to, but they don't want to be overbooked either. So get on their schedule, as well as start a wedding dress search. You might be like, what? 8 to 10 months out from the wedding, I need to start wedding dress shopping already? Yes, and I explain that later in the course, but it takes a lot of time for a wedding dress to get ordered and come in, let alone setting enough time aside for alterations. So start wedding dress shopping early. You can also pick your bridesmaids' attire during this time, also for your groomsmen and ushers, but bridesmaids also because it takes time for their dresses to come in. They may be getting ordered as well. They might be needing alterations as well. And so it's also just very considerate, since your bridesmaids are going to be spending money, to space costs out. So purchasing that bridesmaid dress and then putting money in. They'll be putting money in for your bridal party, your bridal shower, your bachelorette party, and then attending your wedding and a wedding gift. So just be considerate and maybe have the bridesmaid dress picked out sooner rather than later so they can spread those costs out over a greater and longer period of time. And so that's why I would suggest 8 to 10 months out, but obviously do as you wish. Like I mentioned, you can choose your groom and groomsmen attire during this time as well. There may be other weddings scheduled for your same wedding day. So if you get on that dress shop or this groom and groomsmen ushers rental business, if you get on their schedule, then other people that are trying to schedule for your wedding day, they might have more stress or more pressure trying to find that local shop, but since you already thought ahead and you're organized and you're a go-getter, you have less stress to worry about. And then that way you can get the right coloring of a suit or tux that you're wanting, get the right sizing, and then that gives all of your groomsmen, your groom, and your usher, and the dads time to get fitted and get all the right sizes. So 8 to 10 months out, you will want to also reserve your hotel block of rooms. So we talk about this all later in different sections, so don't worry about it now. Since you don't have all the information, you can't do all of this stuff yet, but you'll want to reserve hotel block of rooms in this time frame for your guests coming to your wedding. You'll also choose your baker for your wedding cake, and you can do a taste testing possibly. That way you know that you like it. And then you can also hire your DJ. Once again, lots of weddings happening in certain time frames of the year, so making sure that the one that you're wanting is available. And then you'll also start gathering decoration inspiration. So whether you're searching on Pinterest or Google or looking through social media at wedding reception photos of your friends or family, just start getting ideas on what you like. That way you don't purchase in the moment, but you can filter all of your purchases through that filter of, I know that this is the vision I'm going for. I know that this is the theme I'm going for. It definitely fits in with this. It's not going to be random. I actually have a need for this, and it's not just a spur of the moment purchase. So gather your decoration inspiration. That way, if you're out and about and you happen to see decorations that you love, then you know that it's a wise purchase, and then you can check it off your list. So those are the general things, tasks, and vendors to assign and schedule in the 8 to 10 months prior to your wedding phase. So go ahead and continue on to the next section, which is 6 to 8 months out. Okay, so 6 to 8 months out from the wedding, we're getting a little bit closer. The disclaimers are still in place. If you have a long, drawn-out engagement, don't feel like you have to do everything in this time frame. If you've got a very short engagement, then you better be working through all of this very fast and getting even more done in this time frame. But 6 to 8 months out, generally, you will want to reserve rental items. So if there are rental items for your wedding reception, get those reserved. There's so many rental items that we discuss in a section down the road in this class about rental items. So you'll want to reserve those during this time frame, as well as creating and sending out your save the dates. So sending out save the dates differs a little bit. If you have a destination wedding where guests are going to have to travel or take off work to go to your wedding, then you'll want to send out your save the dates well before this time frame. I would say even closer to a year out. That way they have time to save up the money as well. But if your wedding is traditional, it's close to where all of your guests are living, then I would recommend sending out your save the dates between 6 and 8 months out from the wedding. This gives your guests plenty of time to get your wedding on their calendar, so they reserve that day for you and don't schedule anything else. But it's also wise if you register for gifts during this time frame. So get your registry going, and that way it's all set up for when your bridal shower occurs or for the wedding. So guests know what you're actually wanting, what you and your fiance are wanting as gifts. So get that registry set up. And you can also work with your caterer during this time frame to get the menu decided on. So what are you thinking you are going to be serving for your wedding reception meal? You can decide with them during this time frame and get that figured out. And then 6 to 8 months out, you'll also want to start looking at honeymoon ideas and getting your honeymoon booked. I know that is one more thing for you to plan. Maybe you want to work with a travel agent so they can take that stress off your shoulders. But about 6 to 8 months out, you'll want to start booking their honeymoon, getting things organized with that. That way price is good and you get all the details worked out with that. So this one was a little bit shorter. There's not as much happening in this time frame, but still very important things to get checked off the list, and make sure that you are getting everything done in the proper order. That way nothing's getting overlooked. So please continue to the next section, and thanks for sticking with me. Four to 6 months out from the wedding. Okay, here we go. You will want to select music for your wedding ceremony during this time frame. So you'll want to decide, are you using tracks, instrumentals for your ceremony, or are you going to have a live musician or a live vocalist at your ceremony? So select the songs or the tracks and figure that out, as well as figuring out if you are wanting to hire a vocalist or a keyboardist or whatever you have in mind. So you'll want to decide and reserve your wedding day transportation as well. So for you and your groom, if you're wanting to exit the wedding ceremony and ride in a limousine to the wedding reception, that's something you can book during this time, as well as if you have maybe a bus running from the hotel to the wedding reception venue or to the wedding ceremony venue. This is something to get booked as well. Sometimes people have transportation services from the hotel for guests over to the wedding ceremony or reception. I talk about all this later, but I just wanted you to know in which time frame to do something like this. You can also select your final bouquet styles during this time. So what do you want your bridal bouquet to look like? What do you want your bridesmaids bouquets to look like? How about your mom's corsage, or your future mother-in-law's corsage, or your grandma's corsage and all the boutonnieres? Like, you can decide all of this at this time and speak with your floralist about this, and they will help you and suggest which flowers are in season. Talk about all this later once again. You can finalize your centerpieces for the wedding reception during this time frame of 4 to 6 months out from the wedding. So getting an idea of what the centerpieces are all going to consist of, what detailing they will be, what detail will be entailed in the centerpiece. So which components are you still missing? And making sure that you're purchasing all of those details and decorations. 4 to 6 months out, you'll want to select your wedding day accessories also. So what earrings are you going to be wearing? Are you wearing a garter? Does your dress have a belt or a sash? Do you have a veil? What high heels are you going to be wearing? Do you have like a bridal clutch that you'll have for the day? So just recognizing that you need to purchase all of those accessories. That way you don't have to freak out or stress about it as the wedding gets closer. They're already ordered and they're already in. So, and finally, 4 to 6 months out, you'll want to select and purchase your wedding bands, your wedding rings. So yes, I have my engagement ring, but I also have a wedding band. So guys are lucky and they're easy. They only have a wedding band. Typically, the girls, we get two. So check and order your wedding bands in this time frame. I talk about all of this later, all of the details regarding each task, but this is just the general overview for 4 to 6 months out from the wedding, and feel free to continue to the next section. Three to 4 months out from the wedding, it is getting real. So things you're going to want to do during this time frame are to, one, pick a reception playlist if you've got song request ideas in mind, and verify this playlist with the DJ possibly. So If you know those special songs for the first dance, for the mother-son dance, the father-daughter dance, maybe you have a certain song in mind for the garter toss or the bouquet toss or the dollar dance. All these song ideas, like the entrance, we talk about all this later, but you can be working on that wedding reception music playlist during this time and sharing that with the DJ. 3 to 4 months out, you will definitely want to be choosing and ordering your wedding invitations. We'll talk about time frames later on when you want to send those wedding invitations out, but you'll want to be designing those and ordering those. 3 to 4 months out from the wedding, you'll also be wanting to finalize the order of the ceremony, designing what you want the ceremony to entail. Songs, scripture readings, the sermon, unique sand ceremonies or prayer time, whatever you want your wedding to be like. This is where you're finalizing the design, the itinerary, the outline of your wedding ceremony, and also communicating that with the pastor or the officiant of your wedding. You're deciding on your vows during this time. You're deciding which scriptures or which readings are happening and who's reading these. So lots of details regarding the wedding itself is happening and being figured out during this time. 3 to 4 months out from the wedding, you are purchasing your wedding favors, or if you're making them, you're making them in this time frame. So wedding favors, maybe they're koozies, maybe they're candy. We talk about ideas later, but you're purchasing those during this time frame. And a big thing during this time frame, 3 to 4 months out from the wedding, you're purchasing all of your decorations for the wedding and the reception if they have not been purchased by now. So hopefully all of your decorations have been purchased or have been scheduled for rental. Make sure you have all of your decorations for your wedding, reception, and ceremony by this time. That way you're not adding stress as the day gets closer, because as the day gets closer, there's more and more for you to do. So don't let that stress pile up. So we are getting closer to the wedding date, so feel free to continue to the next section to find out what you need to do next. Two months out from the wedding, it is getting real. So the things that you need to accomplish 2 months out from the wedding roughly are the following. You'll want to purchase or order your bridal party gifts, your wedding party gifts in general. So gifts for your bridesmaids, groomsmen, possibly ushers, your parents, or any individuals that have greatly helped you. For example, your personal attendant. So you will want to purchase all of these. That way you have sufficient amount of time for them to come in if you're ordering them. And 2 months out from the wedding, you'll be mailing out your wedding invitations. You will quickly find out that it takes a lot of time to get addresses and address every single invitation, stuff them, mail them out. So it takes a lot more time than you think. But roughly about 2 months out from the wedding, you'll be mailing out your wedding invitations. This is important. About 2 months out from your wedding, you will possibly start getting gifts in the mail. So whether it's cards with checks or cash or actual gifts mailed to your house, you'll be surprised how early they start coming in. There are some people that know that they aren't going to be able to make it to your wedding, and so they just want to send you the gift now while they're thinking about it. So make sure that you start writing those thank you notes as those gifts or as those cards start coming in. You do not want to get behind on your thank you notes, so I encourage you to start working on those as they come in. 2 months out, you'll want to also purchase your guest book, maybe purchase those flutes or the cake topper or the cake knife and server and all of those little details that add up to a beautiful wedding. You'll want to make sure that you have those purchases made in this time frame. So all of those miscellaneous details and decorations. 2 months out, you'll also want to for sure have all of your appointments scheduled, but you'll probably want to get this done way sooner in advance. So I will talk about all the appointments that you need scheduled, but you'll want to have those done and on the books for nails or for a makeup appointment. But honestly, I think you should probably do this way further in advance. So you'll be deciding what your plans are for getting ready the day of. So are you having a professional help you, or what are your plans for getting ready for your wedding? And then of course 2 months out, you will for sure have the songs selected for your first dance, for your mother-son dance, for the father-daughter dance, and you will have it confirmed with your DJ. So it's very nice getting those details finalized and off of your plate and checked off the list. So that's roughly what happens about 2 months out from the wedding. So as time gets closer to the wedding date, more and more things will kind of start compiling, and of course we'll be discussing each of these individual tasks and sections of tasks in greater detail and in greater length as this course progresses. But I'm just giving you the overview of what is generally needing to be happening during these time frames. So feel free to head to the next section about what needs to be happening the month of the wedding. So close. In general, these are what tasks are needing completed during the final month leading up to the wedding. So I will go into all the details, in-depth, in-length conversations about the month of the wedding further in this course, but just to give you a brief overview and a bird's eye view of what is happening the month leading up to your wedding. And honestly, there's a lot happening in this final month, so just know that going into it. The month leading up to the wedding, you will have your final suit for the groom or the tux for the groom and wedding dress fittings. So you'll be making sure that the sizing is awesome and fits you like a glove and it's fitting you perfectly. You have the right sizes for the groom. And you'll also probably be getting your marriage license within this month leading up to the wedding. Obviously, I talk about the marriage license way later in the class, and every state's laws and rules are different. I believe James and I only got ours a few days before our wedding, but that was Indiana, and Indiana's rules are different than other states, so you may need to get it way further out than that. So just make sure a month out from the wedding that you're checking into the rules of your state regarding the marriage license. A month out from the wedding, this is a fantastic time to be working on your wedding day timeline. So you are putting in a document, step by step, a timeline of what is happening. That way you make sure all the details are covered, people know their tasks, they know their duties and responsibilities, and they know when to show up. That's important. A month leading up to the wedding, you will also be collecting RSVPs, people that have not RSVP'd yet. That will prove to be one of the most annoying things about wedding planning, is you have all the information on your wedding invitation about how to RSVP and people still don't get back to you. They don't answer. So now you have to search them out and get them to reply. That way you have an accurate guest count. So anyway, that's the fun you get to have a month leading up to the wedding, because it's important to, at this point, give final numbers, final head counts to the caterer so that you have an accurate number of meals being prepared for your wedding reception. A month leading up to the wedding, if you are having liquor of any kind at your wedding, you'll be purchasing the wine or the beer or the liquor, or if you're bringing your own beer, this is where you're purchasing this and getting it ready. A month out from the wedding, if you have a day of wedding coordinator, which I highly recommend, please hear me on that. If you have someone coordinating your wedding day for you, just for the day of, only your wedding day, so that you as the bride can enjoy your wedding and relax, I highly recommend that. If you have someone doing that, a month out from the wedding, go over all of the nitty-gritty little details with them. So having that itinerary or spreadsheets or checklists created for them so they know exactly what to check on and when on your wedding day. A month from the wedding, you're gathering these final invoices from vendors, making sure that you know the cost, making sure that they're paid, and making sure they have all the information needed as to when they're needing to show up or what they're needing to bring or what's expected of them. So a month from the wedding, also, I would highly suggest organizing decorations for easy transportation. My mom was an angel at this. We had fairy lights for my centerpiece, and she had to prepare them, and they came all sorts of tangled. I don't know how. They're supposed to like unravel nicely, but what she did was she unstrung them and wound them in a way that was really easy to prevent tangling, and she put everything in plastic bags. That way a set of centerpiece decorations was ready. Someone could grab a bag, walk to a table, everything was in there that they needed, whether it was flower petals or the pearl strand or the fairy lights. So mom was amazing. But this month from the wedding, we talk about all this later, obviously in the course, but just to give you an idea of how much better it is to have things unboxed and in their section for wedding decorations, because you may have a limited amount of time to actually decorate for your wedding reception. During this time frame of a month out from the wedding, you're also packing your wedding emergency kit. So maybe it's Band-Aids or floss or breath mints or a sewing kit. We talk about all this later once again, but you're getting that ready. You're confirming your beauty appointments. Like you confirm your hair appointment, your nail appointment, your makeup appointment, whatever other appointments you have, you're confirming them and making sure that you are on their schedule. A month from the wedding, you're getting your menus or your wedding programs printed and ready to go. That way they are in, and yeah, it's one less thing for you to think about later. But it's also good to wait until now, because if someone for some reason can't be in the wedding, or you decide to add something else into the wedding, you've had all this time to plan your wedding. And so finally, a month out from the wedding, things should be pretty in concrete of what's going to be happening during the wedding ceremony, as well as who is going to be in your wedding ceremony. If you have a seating chart for a wedding reception, you're getting that finalized at this point as well. If you are having a professional do your hair or makeup for the wedding, you're also about a month out from the wedding having a hair and makeup trial. That way you can okay and approve what your specific hairdresser is going to do for your wedding day. Same thing for your makeup. I suggest doing a trial if you're having someone else do your hair and makeup for you, because you don't want to hate your wedding hair or your wedding makeup and then have no time to change it and you're stuck with it for your wedding and for the wedding photos that last forever. So schedule a trial for sure during this time. But there is a complete section dedicated to a month out from the wedding where we talk about all of this towards the end of the course. So that is a month out from the wedding. I know that sounds chaotic. I know it sounds hectic, and that's why it's so important to have all of your information and details recorded on one spreadsheet. So hopefully you are sticking with that, and hopefully you're also not too overwhelmed by this point. You have many months until your wedding, so don't freak out now. I'm just giving you a brief overview of everything, because there are so many details. I understand that. And you might just want a general idea of what needs done in certain time frames. So that's what we're accomplishing here. And feel free to to head to the next section, which is all about the week of the wedding. For this section, we are focusing on what needs to be happening for a week leading up to the wedding. That is crunch time. It's the last section of time to get everything done to make your wedding day perfect, or as close to perfect as you can make it. So we will talk more towards the end of the class about what needs to be happening in detail during the week leading up to the wedding, but this is just a general overview. So for the week leading up to the wedding, you will want to be packing your wedding night bag. So whether you have some cute lingerie for your wedding night or clothes for the next day, or we talk about all this later, but you'll definitely want to do that during this time frame, or packing for the honeymoon during this point. Be putting clothes aside, sandals or shorts or mini dresses, whatever you're needing for the honeymoon. Start packing a week leading up to the wedding. There would be nothing worse than the night before your wedding day to be packing. That would be so stressful. Don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that to yourself. The week of the wedding, also get your dress steamed if it needs it. That way it looks beautiful and flawless in your wedding photos. You can finalize your wedding day timeline. So if you've got a document, that can be a shared document for it to be updated in real time. I know I had a Google document, so literally everyone involved in the wedding could see a timeline, could see when they need to show up, what they were expected to do, contact information for everyone, and it was a lifesaver. That way they didn't have to ask me. They could just go to the document, and the timeline and the itinerary was right there for them to refer to. So make sure that's finalized, make sure it's up to date and accurate. That way everyone is on the same page. The week of the wedding, please confirm the timing for all your vendors. So confirm with each of them what time they're showing up. If they need to bring anything with them, make sure they confirm what they're bringing, and make sure that they're aware of the final guest count, if for like the caterer, for example. And finally, maybe a week leading up to the wedding, in the final days of that week, you'll want to get your nails done. That way they are beautiful and set for the wedding and for your honeymoon. So if you're getting nail polish, you'll want to wait as close as possible. If you're getting more of like a shellac or acrylic done, you could do it further out. But we talk about nails later on as well. So this is a general overview for a week leading up to the wedding. I know it's so exciting, and at this point you will hardly believe that you're so close to getting married. So feel free to head to the next section, which is all about the actual wedding day itself. Of course, I have to do a section on the wedding day itself. So this is the brief overview of what needs to happen on the wedding day. Obviously, there are so many details that go into the wedding day. We will talk about all of those as the course progresses. And so don't worry about knowing all this information and getting it all figured out now. This is just to give you an idea of what happens on the wedding day and what you need to make sure is taken care of on the wedding day. So your wedding day, you'll need to make sure that your maid of honor and your best man have the rings. So the maid of honor needs to have the groom's ring. The best man needs to have the bride's ring. That would be really sad if you got up to the altar and you were ready to exchange the rings and vows and someone didn't have the ring. Please don't let that happen. Also, the wedding day, you'll need to make sure that your day of coordinator, because please have a wedding coordinator for the day of. That way you are not focusing on all this. You'll need to make sure that your day of coordinator has the final checks or the money or the thank you notes or the gifts for your vendors if they're still needing paid. Like, you as the bride, you do not need to be focusing on getting payments to vendors on your wedding day. nor does your mom, nor does your future mother-in-law. Like, please delegate that to someone else, but that will be needing done on your wedding day. Also, your wedding day, bring your marriage license with you. This is what's going to make it official. If you forget that, that will be a mess. So please bring the marriage license with you on your wedding day. And also, please do this. Relax and have fun and actually enjoy your wedding. Soak it all in, because after all, you only get one wedding day. So there is a section towards the end of this course that goes way more in depth about the actual wedding day itself. This was just a brief timeline overview for you. Hopefully you found this helpful, and we will continue on in the next section. So thank you for sticking with me. I know this was a lot of information to throw it at you, but you can take everything slowly, and this course will walk you through details and timelines, so you'll have plenty of reminders and time to actually accomplish all of it in a timely fashion. So don't worry, I don't want you to be stressed out. This is a special time of your life. Please soak it all in, enjoy the process, and don't let the details weigh you down.
Beyond that, y'all, we don't just do life and relationship videos. We have our bonus Fridays where we put up life and relationship videos. We feel led to do a Friday video. But also, if you go to jamesandjazz.com, click on that videos tab, it'll scroll you down to 3 different sections of videos that we film. We do spiritual videos on Monday, where we've done topical stuff. Right now, we're actually doing Bible study with all the book of James. Now we're in the book of John. Then we'll go into another book, and so on and so forth as we feel led. So I think you'll really enjoy some of the spiritual videos that we have, and it'll help you to grow spiritually. We want to help you to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically.
And relationally.
Which leads me to the second topic, is physically fit videos. And we're trying to help you to get in shape, to work out. If you're planning for a wedding, you still got to get those workouts in. That'll help you to have more energy and just feel better about yourself. So whatever you're doing in life, it's so important to do your body a favor and work out. And I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of time. Maybe you don't want to drive to the gym. Well, we've done a lot of stuff right here at the house in our studio here. We've done workouts with dumbbells, workouts with resistance bands, cardio in place. We've done a little bit of kettlebell stuff. So we're showing you how you can work out at home with the equipment that you have. They are full-length workouts. You work out with us. And then there's also instructional videos where we show you the exercises quickly. You can take notes and do it on your own time. But I think that these videos will bless you. And then on our final section, our final tab when you click on videos is that life and relationships. As I said already, that is our bonus Friday videos where we talk about what's going on in our life, which the wedding was going on in our lives, and that also relates to relationship stuff. So life and relationships is a great tab as well. We have our how we met video in that section, and a lot of other different stuff. We have our wedding, we have our proposal, bachelorette party, all that different stuff. So you guys can learn a little bit about us and what we've done in life. And beyond that, when you're on our homepage, just if you scroll to the top of the bottom, you're going to see our social media links. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to follow and like, and YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. And when you scroll to the bottom of the page, you're going to see our subscribe to our email list. Encourage you to do that so you can see when new courses come out, because I think she's thinking about working on new courses.
Yes.
And you can also, on the bottom of that homepage, you can book us to come and speak at speaking engagement. We speak at chapels, at Christian schools, and maybe you want us to come and put on a workout somewhere, or speak at a Christian retreat, whatever it may be.
Or
a conference. Yeah, we would love to do that. So just send us the details in the book us section. And anything I'm missing, my love?
Yeah, if you would like to partner with us, we would appreciate all of your prayer for our ministry. And then you can also partner with us financially if you feel led. No obligation, but on our website, jamesandjazz.com, there's a tab up at the top that says donate, and it instructs you on how you can donate via PayPal, Patreon, or Venmo. So thank you. Every little bit helps. And yeah, we love you guys, and we hope that this video encourages you to plan the wedding of your dreams stress-free to your dream man, and it's gonna be great. Enjoy.
All right,
Love you
take her
guys.
easy, y'all.